So today I'm joined by Chavasse. So Flea is the owner of Parka and Boots Photography. So hi Flea.
Hi, Simon. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you very much. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Yeah, all good.
Fantastic. So look, Flea, look, tell us a bit more about Parka and Boots Photography.
Yeah, so I've been working as a photographer over the past 10, almost 11 years, I think now. Um, and it started sort of gradually and it's sort of built over the years. I've been bringing up my kids at the same time, so it's sort of evolved slowly, I guess. The last 4 years, it sort of changed quite a bit because I started working with personal branding, and sort of retrained with a mentor in America and changed tack. I'd been looking for my niche, and that became my niche. Really, is personal branding. And I suppose it's evolved over time to become more general branding. So it might be working with the actual owners of a business, might be their teams, or it might be products even. So if I work with a garden designer, I'll be down in the soil, sort of photographing their gardens at different stages. Or it might be someone, a food supplier. I've actually been in a food factory with the hair nets and everything and taking photographs. So it can be quite varied. So it has evolved over the years. The other thing that I've always been running alongside my photography and photo shoots is teaching as well, which is quite natural for me. I trained as a teacher quite a long time ago in secondary school. That was art and design. So the photography teaching has come out of that as well. So it's sort of two elements to my work and my business.
Right, okay. And where do generally people use your photography? Is it in their marketing, like their websites, brochures, those type of things?
It is, yeah. It can be for their websites. It can be for their newsletters. It can be for their general sort of social media marketing. So anything at all really that they need their photos. A lot of headshots I do as well. So that can be for all their profiles, which can go across many platforms. So yeah, so it covers quite a bit.
Okay, great, thank you. And so tell me a little bit more about how you got into photography. Where did it all start?
Yeah, so it is quite a long time ago. So my degree was many moons ago, and it was a joint degree. So it was English and art. And within the art side of things, that is where I learnt photography. And back in the day, it was film photography because that's all that there was available. So that was a pretty cool way to learn it because you just had to learn the very bare bones of photography and how you do it. There was no sort of point and shoot learning in those days. So I then had to work backwards as time went on, and I came into photography sort of about 10 years ago. I'd had another career in publishing children's books. So I came back to my photography probably through the kids, really. I was thinking, what am I going to do next? What am I going to do? And I ended up sort of volunteering for a prep school locally and helping in their art department. I started taking photographs for their projects. So it was very gradual. And I just sort of did have a bit of a light bulb moment thinking, yeah, this is what I want to do. People started asking me to cover parties and casual events and things like that. And it sort of grew from there.
Okay, so it's evolved. So you started off with a passion, if you like, for photography, and
Definitely, yeah.
That's then turned into a business. So
Oh.
what and why have your own business, Flea, as a photographer? Why not be like an employee photographer or something like that? Why did you decide to have your own business?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose with the digital side of things, that was self-taught because, like I said, I had to sort of work backwards because I'd already learned in film photography, but then I had to know my way around a digital camera. So I did that myself. I also wanted to work around the kids. So I wanted to have the freedom that having your own business entails. I didn't know I was going to become so commercial because I did start off doing sort of art exhibitions and things like that with my photography. So I did take that tax sort of to begin with. And then it evolved, like I said, because doing events and people's photography for them, and it sort of grew from there.
Right. Okay. And you mentioned there about the freedom, and you know, speaking to business owners, I often, when I ask them that question, you know, about you know, what made you have your own business, freedom often comes up.
Oh,
Um,
definitely.
how have you? But quite often I find that some business owners haven't managed to achieve that freedom because they feel then tied to their business, and they've got to make, you know, more money, and they find themselves earning working longer hours. How
Yes.
has that freedom materialized for you? And if it has, how do you balance that?
Well, I don't know if it's to do with sort of levels of success as well, like how far you want to go, because you could grow your business this far or this far, you know. So I think it depends how much you want to grow and how much that's going to match maybe with how much you put in as well. So, but the beauty of that is that you can choose, so you can decide sort of how big you want to grow, or do you want to keep it manageable so that you do maintain that freedom. So I think the main thing is choice. I suppose you do have that choice about avenues to go down, who you connect with, you know, and how far you want to go with it. So that is a beauty of it, I think, as well.
Yeah, you raise a really good point there about successfully in terms of you know, what is success, and
Yeah.
actually success is achieving what you want to achieve.
Yes, I've thought about it a lot. I don't know if it's just I've got older or I don't know, but yes, you do. You need to sort of think, what do I actually want? You know, because you could
Yeah.
have a huge following on Instagram, and does that mean you've made success, or is it happiness that you've found a bit of balance, and you're, you know, your each day is filling you with joy, or, you know, it's, you've got to find out what it is you want, I suppose.
Yeah, and I think that is the key to success, is understanding what you want and what's important to you. You know, some people
Yeah,
might want to be multi-millionaires and
yeah,
big houses with yachts,
yeah,
swimming pools, and all this sort of stuff, but
yeah.
that may not be somebody else's definition of success. So it's, you know, I think the definition of success is really just achieving what we want to achieve personally, and if we achieve that, then we've been successful. And that could be, you know, in our family lives and our friends and our business
Mm.
and everything else. Okay, no, I like that. Um, and Flea, you mentioned earlier about what you transitioned to, you know, from a I don't know really what you called it before, but you became the sort of the personal branding, and you said
Yeah.
that, you mentioned there that you used a mentor in America.
Mm.
What made you sort of decide to speak to a mentor at that stage?
Well, I mean, if I'm honest, I think she found me.
Okay.
So it was more of a sort of, yeah, she invested heavily in Facebook ads and things. And this person just kept popping up. And I was like, oh, you know, you sort of bat things away. You're not quite sure what it's all about or whether it's trustworthy or those sort of things. But it did keep popping up. And I read a bit more and a bit more. And then, you know, it's that know, like, and trust, I suppose. Eventually I got to know this person. I thought, oh, yeah. And when I knew a bit more about her and what she was trying to achieve, I thought, oh yeah, and I did sign up for a course, which wasn't hugely costly, but it was very full of content. It was amazing. And also I joined something else where you could be in a whole group of photographers sort of worldwide. And yeah, it was great for a while. It really sort of pivoted. I was able to pivot into a completely different sort of arena. So it was all good, really. Yeah,
Yeah. So
learnt a
sort
lot.
of, so surrounding, because so this was this a particular sort of photography mentor?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, she
Yeah. So
was.
you also surrounding yourself there with people that in your industry that you could, you know, speak to, bounce ideas off, and is that,
Definitely.
yeah. And I think that's one of the, you know, really important things in business, is to surround yourself with the right the right people.
Yes.
You know, you know, being in business can be a very lonely place. So actually surrounding yourself with the right people is really important, and that's, you know, that goes from employees to your circle of people that you speak to. So okay, no, I like it. And you know, Flea, what would you say has been your biggest challenge in creating a business?
Oh gosh, I mean, I think there's many.
Mm.
I think there is the side of it, yeah, that you can't, it is difficult to rest. You know, if you do take rest or anything, then you have to accept that things might be quiet for a while. So there is that element that you have to sort of keep on the hamster wheel, I suppose. You know, you need to be connecting, you need to be out there, you need to cover your bases with social media. So I think it is, yeah, just knowing where your next clients are coming from. That's always been a challenge. It's always been there, and I think that's the same probably for a lot of people. But I have been lucky, you know, most things have come from word of mouth really, and it's sort of every now and again I do take stock and I think, right, where have all these clients come from? And when you look back, it is really interesting because you say, oh yeah, so that I knew that person already, and then they introduced me to them. So you realize it is all about these closer connections that are necessary really to work with someone.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, that's
a question, but
no, it does. I mean, you know, look, I think you've probably shared one of the key challenges that a lot of business owners find, which is, you mentioned there about, you know, the next client. Where's the next piece of business coming from? And I think this is the thing when we become business owners. You know, it's not just being or doing what we do. So in your case, being a photographer, in my case, being a business coach. Actually, you take on all these other roles as well of, well, you become a marketer, you become a salesperson, because you need to get the business in. You know, you've got to know a bit about finance. If you start to recruit a team, you've got to start, you know, about HR and operations and systems and processes. So suddenly, what was your niche of being a photographer, or in my case, a business coach, you suddenly sort of learning all these other skills as well, and sort of client generation is one of them. You mentioned, sorry.
No, I think that is a challenge because we're not I don't think any of us are able to do it all. It's quite difficult. I mean, you can do it, but a lot of people do begin to outsource, and I think when people do outsource, it can be quite a relief, I think, to a lot of people I've spoken to, because there were things that they might really hate or really don't get along with, they can then pass to somebody else. But yeah, I think it's a challenge.
Yeah, it is a challenge, and look, and I completely, you know, I completely agree with you. It's actually, you know, let's take marketing and sales as a certain thing. You know, if we've never been trained in marketing or sales, why would we ever be good at it? And therefore, perhaps we should consider outsourcing or employing somebody that actually is really, really good at that, because they've been doing it for years, they've learned it, they've studied it, and they're really good at it. So yeah, that makes absolute sense. So Flea, you mentioned there about word of mouth. And your business coming from word of mouth. How important are sort of referrals to you?
Oh no, they are really important. Yeah, I mean, because it makes all the difference. I mean, if I'm hiring someone, it makes all the difference. You know, if someone says, "Oh, this person's been great," you sort of want that reassurance before you start, I suppose, that they're going to be good to work with, they're going to do a good job. So I think, word of mouth is important. And it's getting known as well. So putting yourself out there. You know, if you don't put yourself out there, you won't get known. So it's so important to network, really, generally, because you can't just rely on, you know, your friends and smaller circles. I think you have to get out there and tell people what you do as well, and get to know people.
Yeah, no, I agree. This is a really interesting subject to me, because I've just recently been writing a blog on this, about reviews and referrals. And I came across some really interesting statistics on this. And you sort of really think about these, you know this, but when you put it into numbers. So to give you a couple of numbers in relation to this. So there was some research that indicates that 69% of clients are willing to make referrals, but they rarely do so. So 69% of clients are willing to make referrals, but they rarely do so. And 72% of that 69%, they say it's because they've not been asked.
Oh, that's interesting.
Isn't that amazing?
And it is interesting because it's true. It is really hard to ask.
Yeah.
Some people have a real flow to their systems, and they have an automatic thing that once they've, say, invoiced, then they send out a referral request, or but it is a difficult thing.
Yeah.
I think people find that hard to ask. And then how many times do you ask? Do you ask once? Can I have a referral?
Yeah. It's a challenge, but it just shows that if you do ask, actually, and because we think that we might be bothering people or about, but actually that statistic, 69% of clients are willing to make referrals, but they're just not asked to do so. I mean,
that's really interesting. I thought you were going to say time, like people don't have the time to do them, but that's interesting that they're willing.
They're willing, yeah. And actually, there were some other statistics that I came across that 92% of consumers trust referrals from people they know. So 92% trust referrals from people that they know, and they're 4 times more likely to buy when they're referred by somebody else. It's amazing sort of things that we just get into those referrals. So Flea, tell me a little bit and I know you've mentioned this to me before about your particular niche in photography, because there's if you don't mind me saying, there's a lot of photographers out there, there's a lot of business coaches out there. So tell me a little bit about your niche in photography. You mentioned that it's personal branding, but there's something in particular that you like to focus on, isn't there?
Oh yes, so it's my style is sort of more naturalistic. So this is something I'm trying to, have gain with leverage, because I've perhaps not focused on it so much in the past, but it's so evident, because people do often have a style, whether they're doing headshots or whatever, and some people might have a very serious style, which is very antique-y looking or very elaborate or very luxury. Mine is very sort of simple, naturalistic, joyful. I like to bring those elements out of people. They're not heavily edited, so that's what I like to have, well, let's just say, as my style. So it's people that want that sort of thing. So maybe companies have had stuffy, very serious pictures before, and they might want to branch out and go for that more naturalistic style. They might even be outside, but the expressions and the poses and things like that are more natural as well. So it's all the elements really.
Yeah, and I remember when we spoke before, you say that you like to try and capture that moment when somebody's laughing as well, don't you?
I do.
Yeah,
I do, and it's funny. I had a really challenging lady. This is going back a bit, but I had a lady who wanted a headshot. It's actually for her family, so it was a professional headshot, but she wanted to share it. Maybe I think she might have hit a certain age or something. I can't remember, but she sort of informed me at the very beginning that I don't smile. I was, oh God. And I was quite worried. I was thinking, wow, what are we going to do? And it started off quite difficult and quite challenging. And then I decided to introduce some props. I thought this lady really does need a prop, whether it's a cup of tea or a book or some flowers. She needed something. So she said, oh no, I've got a really good book that I love. So she chose this book. She was a French speaker, so a French book. And she opened this book and just started reading away. And then I could get on with my thing. And I managed to capture this shot, and it was the shot of the day with this lovely natural laugh. And it was just a beautiful portrait. And I'm so glad, because we actually got somewhere, we got to where we wanted to go. And I think she was amazed, because she told me she does not smile.
I think that's a great story. And I think actually that demonstrates something in photography, that actually, getting to know the person and who the person is and what might make them laugh or what helps them to be natural. But actually, I think there's a lesson in there for business as well, in that actually people buy from people. And actually, if you take the time and effort to to get to know the person that you're speaking to, what it is that they need, what it is that they want, what their likes are, what their dislikes, actually it becomes a lot easier to match your services and products to what it is that they actually need, because you've built up that relationship, you know more about them. So I think there's a key message in there for not just in photography but in business.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I agree.
So Flea, what would you say to anyone thinking of going into business?
So into business particularly, or photography, or just
Well, business in general, but yeah, you can relate it to photography.
Well, business in general, I would say, I mean, this is something I wish I'd done a lot sooner, and it is to network.
Yeah.
I just don't think it was sort of, because I worked in publishing for, I think, 10 years, and my network was sort of all around me. And I might have gone to events and conferences, but my companies were big companies. I had lots of customers because I was in sales. So that was my environment, that was my network. And it just wasn't on my agenda when I first went into photography. I might have had a network layer of, say, of school mums that were around me. But no, it wasn't on my agenda at all. So it's come to me quite a bit later. I think 2019, right at the beginning of there, or maybe 2018, I sort of started dabbling in some networking. And I was like, oh, this is new. So I would recommend that. I said as soon as possible. And a lot of people may just know that these days. They might just, younger people might just know that's what they have to do. But I didn't back then. And it's just so valuable.
And is there a specific piece of advice that you'd give somebody when when they were networking?
Yes, I mean, I think the days are gone where you do that sort of hard sell immediately when you've just met someone and shaken their hand. Yeah, no, it's very much, which suits me. It's very much getting to know people, and just think about their character and just finding out about them. Really, I think that curiosity, if you've got it naturally, is quite helpful. Which I do have. And if if you have a love of people, then that's also good. I mean, I'm quite introverted, but I'm a sort of chatty introvert, and I love to socialize. I might get tired afterwards, but I really enjoy that process. So yes, it's just getting to know people really, and putting your business sort of just at the back. Tell people, but like, it's not, you're not there for the hard sell. You're there to get to know people.
I think that's a great bit of advice, Flea. Make it about them, not about
Yeah.
you. And, yeah, build up that relationship and that trust. So, no,
Yeah.
thank you. That's a great piece of advice. And look, one final question, Flea. What's the best advice that you would give an 18-year-old you?
Oh God. Oh, that's really hard. Oh, that's really stumped me actually. I mean, because when I was 18, I was quite good at just sort of working stuff out, and quite driven, I think, in a funny way. I don't know where it came from really.
Yeah.
It wasn't really from my parents, really. They just, I was very self-sufficient, and I thought, right, I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do that. And I trained as a teacher, and these are all my ideas. So I wasn't really struggling, I don't think, at 18. I just finished my A-levels. But then I might teach my 18-year-old self that you don't have to go a traditional route. You don't have to go and work for a big company. You don't have to, because at that age, you could afford probably to start your own business quite comfortably, and you've got it all ahead of you. Mm-hmm. So I would, my middle son's quite entrepreneurial already, and I would celebrate that and congratulate that, because it's not really taught in schools, that sort of thing, is it? It's all about, you can be this job, or you could be a librarian, or you could be, I feel like it's still done that way, and there's so many other pathways.
Yeah, like that. Look, some great things that you've mentioned there about just being driven and working things out. But yeah, go your own route. You don't need to follow the normal route. And I share your views. I mean, look, our education system is great, but there are sort of certain flaws in it, and it's designed to help you to get a job when you leave school. But actually, my philosophy, and look, I could go through a whole new discussion on this, so I won't do that. But my philosophy is actually we need more business owners. The SMEs are what you know, the UK thrives on.
Yeah.
So actually, we need people coming out of schools and thinking, I'm going to set up my own business. Not necessarily that they're going to do it the day they come out of school, but they've got a plan to set up their business at some point in the future. And I think there should be some more education around that. But that's my personal opinion. But
yes, I agree.
But some great advice there. So look, Fleet, I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with me today and sharing more about you and your business and your journey. So thank you very much.
Oh, thanks very much, Simon. It's been great to be here. Thank you.
Great, thank you.